All right. I'm virtually banging the gavel to call to order the Southborough Zoning Board of Appeals for Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. This meeting is only through Zoom. The notice is on the link and can be found on the town website at www.southboroughma.gov. So the first item we have on the agenda for public hearing tonight is 250 Turnpike Road, a variance. The petitioner is seeking a variance for the required number of parking spaces. Do you have the notice to read?
I do. Yep. And while I'm reading that, I'm just going to move George over as well. The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing virtually via Zoom Wednesday, February 11th, 2026 at 7 o'clock p.m. with regard to the petitions of FD 250 Turnpike LLC, 250 Turnpike Road, Southborough, Mass. The petitioner is seeking a variance for the required number of parking spaces. The property is located in the Industrial and Residence A zoning district, and relief is requested under Section 174-12E10.
All right. So, uh, George, you're representing the applicant this evening. Do you have anything you want to present or discuss first?
Yeah, I have a short spiel I'd like to say if you guys don't mind.
Okay.
All right. So I'll start by saying good evening, Chair Williams and members of the board. My name is George Bonan here for the applicant FD 250 Turnpike LLC. I'm here tonight requesting a parking variance for the self-storage facility at this location, 250 Turnpike Road. Um, what we're asking for is the town's parking formula for this type of building asks for 36 parking spaces if you consider the square footage of the self-storage facility and divide that by 1,500 and multiply that by one because one parking space is required for every 1,500 square feet. The site currently has 16 existing spaces in the upper lot of the facility. And before I say that, I should say this site is specific in the sense that um, it's wetlands splits the two sites, and the self-storage facilities on the upper lot of the site, and there's basically some existing parking in the lower level of the site, and they're connected with the pedestrian bridge by way of a pedestrian bridge. So I'll get back into it. The upper lot currently has 16 existing parking spaces, and the bottom lot has the other 20 that are required. We're asking the board to approve the operation of the site, the operation of the self-storage facility with just the 16 existing spaces in the upper lot in lieu of the calculated 36. And I guess I'll start by saying, well, I want to start with the real world history because it answers the biggest concern in a practical way. The pedestrian bridge on the property has been closed for months now. And during that time, there has not been any issue related to parking, no recurring overflow, no backups, no pattern of people parking somewhere unsafe or spilling over onto Route 9. And even though the facility has only been open for about 2 years, it's roughly 85% occupied. And that matters because it shows that we're not talking about a brand new business with unknown parking needs. Um, we're talking about a facility that has reached mature levels of occupancy. And at those levels of occupancy, the parking has been working. So when we talk about safety and parking impacts, we're not guessing. We have several months of real life operations with the bridge closed at a high occupancy level, and parking has not been a problem. Self-storage doesn't operate like a restaurant, a retail store, or an office building. Even a facility has a lot, even though the facility has a lot of units, you don't have hundreds of customers showing up at the same time. People come and go quickly, trips are short, staffing is limited. The actual parking demand is typically low and spread out throughout the day. So, yes, the bylaw formula produces a number, but this use simply doesn't generate that kind of peak parking that the number assumes, and the real world history at the property supports that. I'd like to discuss hardship for a moment. The site, as I mentioned before, has a unique layout and circulation that really matters. The way the property is configured, safe pedestrian connection between the areas of the site, the lower level and upper level parking lot. And it's not as straightforward as it's not as straightforward as it might be on a flat or single lot commercial parcel. The right now the pedestrian bridge is closed. That means you can't treat every possible parking area on the property as if it's automatically practical and safely accessible for customers because safe walking routes matter. If the town required strict compliance with the 36 space count today, it effectively forces us to perform major work on the bridge and redesign it just to satisfy a formula, even though the business has demonstrated that it can operate safely normally with just the 16 existing upper lot spaces. And this is not a self-created hardship. It didn't arise from us trying to game the rules or cut corners. The bridge is closed because it's deteriorated or deteriorating, and it would be unsafe to invite customers to use it. Choosing not to route the public over a deteriorating structure is not creating a hardship. It's doing the responsible thing. In other words, the issue comes from a safety constraint and the way the site is laid out. The applicant is responding to the constraint in a safe way. And we shouldn't be in a position where the only way to avoid a zoning issue is to reopen something that is unsafe. The biggest safety issue for any board should be will this push people into unsafe places like Route 9 or walking along Route 9? The answer, no, because the bridge has been closed for several months and we have had high levels of occupancy. We can say that it hasn't done that, and we agree that it should never do that. Um, I'll say again, we have several months of operation with the bridge closed and no parking issues, at about 85% occupancy, which is strong evidence that parking demand at this use is not creating an unsafe spillover. And if the board wants additional comfort, we're willing to accept conditions that directly prevent Route 9 issues. Um, why doesn't why this doesn't undermine the purpose of the parking bylaw? The purpose of the parking bylaw is to make sure businesses have enough parking so cars and people aren't pushed into unsafe areas. Granting this variance doesn't undermine that purpose. It supports it because the real world operation shows the existing parking supply is working, and the conditions ensure the site won't spill out onto Route 9 and won't quietly evolve into a higher parking demand use without oversight. So, in closing, I'm asking for the board to grant the variance to allow the self-storage facility to operate with the 16 existing upper lot spaces in lieu of the calculated 36. And we'd be obviously open to reasonable conditions if the board wants them. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to the board.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go in order of signing in. Doris, do you have questions for the applicant, for George? You have to
Can't hear
take it
you,
off Zoom.
George.
Take it off Zoom. I'm off mute, sorry.
I'm unmuted now. I just had 2 points. So we got here because Beehive has been operating for some time with the bridge. We got to this point needing a variance when the bridge closed. So an enforcement issue popped up. Is that right, George?
I'm sorry, you cut out there, Doris. Could you repeat that?
Sure, no problem. So we're here today because Beehive, when the bridge was closed, created an enforcement issue on zoning because Beehive's been there operating for a few
No,
years.
that's a good question. Yeah, and allow me to elaborate. No, we're kind of here on a preemptive measure. The bridge, when BI first opened, the bridge was fully functional. People were using it not necessarily to go to and from the self-storage facility, but because it was open, our employees were using it internally. But in the last, I would say 4 to 6 months, probably, it's shown serious signs of deterioration. So we've been posed with a question. Do we repair it? Do we tear it down? If so, what does each path look like? And we ultimately decided that we're not going to repair it. It's at a significant cost to repair that. Well, actually, it'd be to replace it, basically. Um, and so it's at a significant cost to replace that. So that's something we don't want to undertake. So what that's going to essentially do is eliminate the access from the upper lot to the lower lot parking spaces, which I'll tell you were really never used to get to the self-storage facility. There's always been plenty of parking. I know 16 sounds like a low number, but it's really not. Whenever you go there, I would say not even half the spaces at even its peak moments are taken up. Um, but to answer your question, we got here because the bridge is basically deteriorating, and we need to make sure that we're zoning compliant. We remain zoning compliant, and the way to do that is by asking for a variance to allow the 16 existing parking spaces in the upper lot to be sufficient for the self-storage facility.
Okay, on the surface, I don't seem to have any issue with this. I just wanted a little bit of history. Why now? So that answers that question. The other thing, and other board members may have some comments, is um, uh, so say the Beehive goes out of business, gets re-rented. Now we have a commercial entity there. Just a condition that it doesn't carry to the commercial entity. Or,
I think that's
I don't know.
fair.
I just, now it turns back to, okay, I'm saying I don't know how other board members feel yet.
Mm.
Um, what it, that a different kind of hardship that would limit what they could always come back to us. Um, what would it went back to be a commercial building. Other than
Right.
that, that's my thoughts on it, and I could pass the torch to who is the next to log in.
Okay, that would be Jamie.
All right, I do have a few questions. One is, I think you said something about this was a detriment. It's due to a detriment not of your making. If you guys have owned the property for years and you were using it and now it's in disrepair, it obviously wasn't maintained. So I'm not sure that was a detriment not of your making. That's the standard we're going by. I find that a very hard argument to make personally. Whether that changes my opinions, maybe not relevant, but personally, I don't think that argument holds water. The other thing I want to know is what was the quote to repair the bridge or replace the bridge, whatever you got, that made you come here and decide it wasn't going to be possible?
It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not closer to 1 million, to be honest with you. I don't have the exact number, but I know it's very, very high. And Jamie, to your point about the self-created hardship, we've owned the property, and I don't, excuse me if I'm not exactly correct, but I think around we purchased it in 2021, maybe. This bridge has been in existence for 30 years, 30 plus years. So it's been deteriorating since its creation, slowly but surely. And we just happen to own it and possess it towards the end of its life.
I'm sure that's true, but you still came before the board probably knowing it was deteriorating and it wasn't going to last more than a couple of years, and instead of maintaining it, we waited till it got to the point where it's unsafe for people to walk on, right? Anyways, I don't want to get stuck on that. So do you have did you guys get an exact quote to repair and replace, or are you guessing that it was 100,000
It's
to a
I
couple
don't have
hundred
an exact
thousand to 1 million?
I don't have an exact quote. I know it was floated to me at some point. But I couldn't tell you an exact number.
Okay. The 85% capacity. Can you remind me how many units are there and how many are rented out?
Yeah, there's about 380 and some change.
Yeah.
Um and it would be 85%. So just sorry, quick math. About 323 are rented out.
Okay. Um, and you're basing the bridge has been closed basically for the winter. Sounds like from the late fall to the
Yeah,
winter or something like that.
I would say yeah, probably closer to mid-fall, maybe beginning of fall.
Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, I just don't know about how heavily those things are frequented. Like, is it more likely people to go in the summer? I mean, I know the contractor's yard, I assume, probably is more active in the summer, but that's on the other piece of the property that's not impacted, right?
It would be correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, those are my questions for now. Thank you.
All right. I think I want to say no, Paul came or Paul or Doug. I don't remember. It might have been Doug. Sorry, Doug came in first. Go ahead, Doug.
Um, so I guess, George, one question I have is, so if you get this variance, are you demolishing the bridge? Are you leaving it to fall into further disrepair? Or what is the plan if you get the variance? Because obviously don't want to necessarily suddenly see the bridge sitting in the wetlands,
Yeah.
in 6 months. So I'm just curious, what is the plan?
Absolutely. And it's been something we've been trying to tackle for or get ahead of rather for a little while now. At another point, we were trying to figure out how we could make the septic system work because the septic, as an added issue, the half of the septic system, the tank for the septic system is on the upper lot, and then the waste travels across the bridge, under the bridge. There's a pipe there and leaches out into the leach field, which is in the lower level of the lot. So we've been trying to tackle this issue for a while. Ultimately, to answer your question, we're not going to just let it fall into the wetland. We're creating plans to slowly demolish it in a safe manner, and that will most likely be in front of the Conservation Commission, given that it runs across wetland area. So at a point where our contractors deem appropriate, I'm not sure when that is, we'll move forward with plans to take it apart.
And then George, so is your plan to keep a pipe crossing basically in essence for the septic? Is so there'll still be something residual crossing the wetlands, just more out of curiosity.
No, and this might be a little outside of the board's what they
Yep.
need to know, but originally we were trying to move forward with a tight tank option, but the Board of Health determined that it's not yet at that point. Luckily though, we found on some of the rear portion of the lot, we found some good soil, so we're going to create another septic system that uh sorry, I'm losing my thought. That basically just serves, I couldn't think
Yep.
of that word, serves the self-storage facility.
Yeah, I got to. Yeah, again, I'm not trying to get into parameters that are not necessarily our purview, but it just again, I think that would be just a general concern. Just what happens with the bridge. Uh, I agree with Doris in terms of just the comment of it should stay with the use, right? So if it becomes back commercial, this doesn't go to some other springing use. From my perspective. Again, I don't necessarily have a concern with it, it being reduced for this specific use again, especially for self-storage and given that your occupancy is so high already.
Mhm.
But just, but anyways, but thank you. Those are all the questions I have.
Thank you.
All right, now it's Paul.
All righty. Well, two of my questions have already been asked, so that's good. Um, so I guess if the bridge is down and not being used, and then it is for whatever reason in the future due to, I don't know, change of use, change of something, is that then still is the right to use or have a bridge to access the lot still in place, or would there ever just never be a need to access the lower lot?
Well, I think as we own the property, it's our intention to keep it as a self-storage facility for as long as we own it. If in the future we sell the property and then the subsequent property owners want to change it back to office, maybe office comes back and they want to create an office building again, which would require more parking, it would be on them to then come in front of the applicable boards and probably figure out a way to access the lower lot, and maybe it would be a bridge, and maybe it would make sense from a cost perspective at that point. But as long as we own it, we intend to keep it as a self-storage facility.
Okay, so I should probably know the answer to this question, but if by like some reason extra parking, for the once in a whatever is needed for self-storage, can you still walk to the lower lot? Like, is there like a sidewalk along nine there? Is there or no? Like
No.
that's no.
And if there were a sidewalk, we wouldn't be seeking this variance, frankly. It's because there's no access to the lower lot, and there won't be any access after this bridge, fully comes down. That's why we're here.
Okay. So and again, you're 100% confident in the fact that you don't need access to more parking is along the short of it.
Yeah, I mean we've had the self-storage building operating for a couple of years now, and it's the parking lot, the upper parking lot has never reached capacity. I can tell you as long as I've seen it, there's never been any reports that it has. So we're pretty confident that that's going to remain consistent.
Okay. I have no further questions.
All right, Mike, are you with us? Looks like you're driving. Can you safely ask questions, Mike?
He looks frozen, maybe. Oh no, there he is.
Oh, there's some movement. Oh, you're still on mute. And now he's frozen. Oh, there he goes. Mike?
Sorry about that. Hopefully you can hear me. All of my questions have been answered. I actually just need to drop off my daughter, and I'll jump right back on if you give me just a moment.
Okay,
Yep.
go ahead. So I'm gonna take that opportunity then. And I believe hopefully everybody saw, and George, obviously you're aware, I think you were addressing them directly, that the planning board is, sent a memo saying, they think the criteria to grant a variance is not there. And they cited different reasons. And, one of them is, the hardship, and you kind of address that. And I think I see where Jamie's coming from. It's like the hardship is that the bridge was not maintained. It's not because of the shape of the lot. Now that, then the public good and derogating from the intent and purpose of the law, that really goes to the safety. Now, something that they brought up here, that maybe this is something that we would have to do as far as conditions go. They mention how it says there's state-of-the-art conference rooms to complete invoicing and meet with clients, and warehouse space. So I guess my concern is if there's some activity that you're advertising there that would sort of, threaten that 16 parking spaces threshold. We might need to put something in like that to say, because if you're talking about a place that's strictly self-storage, I understand what you're saying. This is not like something, nobody's going there on a daily basis. Although I'm sure businesses might use it as temporary storage, but especially knowing that you're seeing that the 16 have not been a problem, I can see that. But I'm just kind of looking for, are there any conditions we can put in here to make sure you don't really threaten that 16? And then my only other question for you would be, is there an alternative to the bridge? I mean, I've never really gotten close to it, but you can see the thing from Route 9. It looks huge. Is there an alternative to cut a path, with steps, and then a smaller bridge that goes over whatever the water is? I don't know if you'd looked into that or not.
I can tell you, I'll speak to the existing bridge, and I mentioned it before in terms of maybe could we repair it? I've been told we can't repair it. It's got to be replaced. So I'll start with that. And that's kind of what we're basing our entire cost analysis on, or cost argument rather. And to answer your question, can we maybe make like a smaller bridge? I'm unsure. I can't sit here and tell you for sure that we can or can't do it. You add the added element of it's suspended over wetlands.
Yeah.
It's a complicated site.
Yeah.
And that speaks to one of the criteria, to be honest with you. It's because of the shape and size, and the way the lot is configured is kind of why we're here. If there wasn't a gaping wetland in between the two areas, we'd have the parking we need.
That's actually a good argument. I hear what you're saying there. Yeah.
And if I could just also touch upon your first point too, David, we initially advertised this, and you all know this was supposed to be like a self-storage facility, kind of focused or to cater to contractors. And we wanted to empower contractors to come and use the self-storage facility and use the conference rooms. As time has gone by, it's really just another self-storage facility. It's no one's using the conference rooms, if I'm being honest. It's really just become a self-storage facility, like a traditional one.
Okay. I don't know, I mean, that's just a thought that I had. I mean, I don't want to ignore the planning board's concerns, and I know you kind of, like, when you presented, you're really kind of addressing them. But I'm just thinking, as a self-storage, that's a pretty easy argument. They specifically mention, the conference rooms.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking maybe those are conditions we can put in to make it work. Mike, you're back. Did you have questions?
Yes, and again, I'm very sorry to the board. Just one of those family juggling, and I hate all of it. But anyways, the board has really asked a lot of my concerns, and I really struggle personally with that hardship. Other than the reality of the world's kind of changed from an office space, parking, the reality, like, I know from a legal perspective, we can't have this financial hardship, but there's also the reality that just exists with respect to that's a huge bridge. And I really appreciated both Doug and Doris's specific points with respect to, listen, what's going to happen to this in the future? Okay. And then second, what I just don't want is, we're just gonna let it kind of, we'll get to it, and then it's there crumbling for eternity, so to speak. And again, what happens is we don't want to go outside of our board's mandate, but at the same time, we need to look at foreseeable consequences of whatever actions we decide to take. And I really hear Jamie's point where, like, yeah, you bought it. You knew that this mega structure was there. So, like, it kind of falls on, buyer beware. You've got a broken down causeway. That's kind of not our problem. But at the end of the day, the reality is, I don't know what those costs are, and I'm sure George doesn't either, but I am sure the idea of, like, repairing/replacing that in today's marketplace would be quite expensive. And I think that's just the hard reality of the situation. And I don't have an issue with the parking. That's not my concern. My concern is, I think the condition that change of use, hey, listen, this is for your current use now, your intended use right now. But I also I'm inclined to find the hardship for the variance.
You broke up, David.
What I don't want to do is 10 years from now. What was that? Did you lose me?
Oh, sorry, you broke. Yeah, we lost you for about a minute.
I was lost for a minute mid-rant.
You're inclined to approve the
just don't want to
parking.
be looking at. Thank you. I'm inclined to find the hardship based on the fact they don't need that parking. But the reality is, I just don't want to let the petitioner off the hook with the management and disposal, so to speak, of that bridge. Like, they own it. They bought it. Sorry, I'm not sorry that they have to feel, if they don't want to fix it, I can't guarantee you the demo of it is a lot less. Right. But it just shouldn't be sitting there as an eyesore for eternity either.
Great.
I agree with that.
So, if I may, what I'm kind of just thinking in my head is, it sounds like we don't really have a problem with the parking, but I think there are definitely some conditions we want to have here. Like, from my perspective, it would be, that we basically limit the use to the storage. And I think it doesn't seem like it would be a hardship for the applicant if we say, you can't host, you can't use the conference rooms to host a meeting where you're going to definitely bring in, 5-6 cars at a time, something like that. So we could just condition it on the use. We could also condition, that, and I can appreciate that if it's over a wetland, we can request that they take it down, but I also hear what George is saying. You got to go in front of conservation as far as how you take that down. But that's still, we can still condition it to say it has to come down. And then, lastly, we could certainly put in a condition. I don't think it's overkill, but I think we could clearly say, this variance only goes with the current owner in its current use, right? So if it changes hands or they come back and say, hey, guess what? We're going back to office. They're like, okay, well, that parking variance does not extend to a change of use. So those are my suggestions, but I'm open to hear what other members of the board think.
I agree with that. I do have one question, and this may be off base, but do we have to think about what's happening? I understand the lower lot is separate and near the contractor's yard, right? But now that they don't need that parking, does that give them more land to build on, which potentially maybe as the property owner, that's their right. But if they have this issue with change of use and they're going to need that parking in the future, I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense to put any limitations on, even though the bridge is not there, you have to keep all the parking spots on the lot.
Oh, you're talking about on the lower lot.
On the lower lot, yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just something I thought of.
Is there any, I suppose that's still on us to try and make that a condition, but is there a concern with the number of parking spots you've got on that lower lot and considering what you're planning to do there?
Well, the contractor's yard requires, I want to say something like 11 parking spaces, which we easily meet with the spaces in front of the building itself. And then there's 5 or so when you enter the lower lot to the left, on the left side. The right side, which is the side that abuts the pedestrian bridge, this is from the lower lot perspective, there's about 20 or so parking spaces. We intend to keep those. We don't see any reason to get rid of them or do anything with that land at the moment. We figured it's just overflow parking for the contractor's yard or maybe the future 40B, something like that.
Right. So I thank you, George. I think Jamie, I don't see, I don't know. I guess I tend to think even if it might be overkill, to me, it doesn't hurt to try to put in a very clear condition, even if it's reinforcing, a bylaw for that matter. But we could put something in that says no reduction shall be made in the lower parking lot as a result of the decision. Does that sort of address your concern?
It does. I don't know if other people have the same concern or they're like, Jamie, you're crazy. We don't need that, which I'm also open to, but it's just something I was thinking about.
Oh, we know you're crazy, Jamie.
I am crazy. It's not going to change.
Yeah, that milk's out of the cow.
Doris, did you have some thoughts or concerns regarding putting conditions?
I think taking the bridge down, if that were conditioned.
Okay, that's a concern.
Hear George's response to that. I just think in fairness, excuse me. We talked over each other. Okay, so I'd like to hear a response to that, but hold the thought. Taking down the bridge. But what I heard that I hadn't been aware of the very, very large bridge is that the sewer runs underneath it. So, maybe in that condition, reasonableness to go before the other commissions, that could take years to get that thing down based on the way we move through, wetlands and CONCOM. So some reasonableness that bridge is not coming down in 3 months.
Right.
And it's
right.
not.
Yeah, and I don't want to be onerous on this. I just know how it works that, oh yeah, we've got our parking variance and we'll just let this crumble into eternity.
Well, it can't because the sewer.
Yeah.
The bridge comes down, the sewer
goes
goes
very
into
little in order to keep that in place, But
so to make sure it doesn't they don't dawdle and just leave it up because we didn't really state anything. Do we just I don't know, do you condition it with I don't know if we want to put a time frame in there.
That's the question, because again, now we're going into like, I'm all for conditions, but the reality, the financial obligations, that in and of itself is a substantial
Yeah.
cost that I don't like pinning. Like it's George, do you have any suggestions on that point?
I wish I had the knowledge of a contractor. I can't really put a time frame on it. I can tell you what the plans are for the septic system, and that might give you maybe a better idea of how long this process will take. We plan on applying for our septic system in the rear 250s somewhere around late April, beginning of May. In order to take the bridge down, that septic system has to be approved and in place working before the bridge comes down. Um, I would, if you had to put a time frame on it, and I don't want to even say anything because I don't really have the requisite knowledge, but it would be in the years. It wouldn't be months.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So I hesitate to even suggest you do that. And I know it's self-serving what I'm saying, but I really just don't have the requisite knowledge in order to tell you this is how long we need.
Well, is this something we could do from a procedural perspective? Like, in that you have follow-up actions with, the Board of Health and Conservation to pursue the necessary permits to take down the bridge. And I don't know if we want to, Mike, I don't know if you want to put legal language in here saying, showing due diligence or within a reasonable period of time. But I agree. I think it's really hard to say you have to have this done in 2 years. I think it's more, I want to see, is there some way that you can show intent that we can say, hey, we want to know that you're in front of the boards that you need to be to take it down. And I don't really have a good suggestion for what exactly that looks like, but that's more what I was thinking. Like, I hate to say, we, review it in a year to see that you've done that follow-up. That seems a little, crazy, but we should be able to condition that they are pursuing, taking it down with the required due diligence with the necessary boards.
I mean, can we do something where again, I know I've been on the other side of this, but where, you know, you know, to be done within 2 years, but if that does not happen, they have to return to the board, provide an update.
Yeah.
We've done that before, right? So it's not,
That's a good idea.
that could be something else as to address it. I don't have any issue with if the Conservation Commission comes back and there's just a sewer line crossing because that didn't work out, but there's no bridge. But I definitely am concerned that, they got to reasonably maintain the bridge in the interim until they figure out how to get rid of it. Not for access necessarily, but it can't suddenly, half collapse into the wetland, which is more of a COMCOM issue. But it could be more of they have to return to us if it's not done in a certain period of time.
Okay. That's actually, I like that suggestion. George,
Yeah,
is that work for you?
I think
Defer to
that's
Mike.
key.
Yep.
What's that?
I just want to say, Mike, I defer to you, though. You have more experience with this too as
No,
well.
I actually really like that. I think that's a much more reasonable, and because again, that's just hey, listen, you got to bring us back, give us an update on this on a timetable as well as, hey, it has to be down, it has to be done, because that's the reality is the petitioner doesn't have that information, and again, we're straying outside where that feels like, hey, you got to bring it back to us. That really feels like, to me, a reasonable accommodation to make sure that this just doesn't get forgotten. We render a decision and then, we never
Right.
hear about it again.
Yep.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and George, to your
I'd be in support of that.
okay. Yeah, and George, in your perspective, you guys have 2 years to figure it out. If the bridge comes down and it's done and you figured out your septic, then you're not coming back to
Yeah.
talk to us, right?
I agree. Yeah, and I think if I had to put a time frame on the septic, I think that would probably take about a year, from a permitting perspective and maybe a construction perspective. So I think, we have a year from that point to make active plans or create active plans to take the bridge down. And I think it's very reasonable for us having to come back if the bridge is not taken down and like is a 2 year time frame reasonable? That's what I was thinking.
I mean, I'm suggesting a 2 year time frame. It seems
Yeah.
that would give enough time for you to achieve what you need to achieve, and if not, you got to come back to us.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable, because I hear what you're saying about the time that you need for the septic, and you're saying you have to have it in place. So then you'd be starting the process of saying, all right, we want to take this thing down, and now you're going through what you need to with either the Board of Health or Conservation, as well as the building department, to make sure you're doing it. So 2 years works for me.
I agree.
I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
And then, David, one other quick comment. When I heard you say, I think the restriction should be on the change of use. I mean, I think the owner can change, right? Just,
Yeah.
it can't be, they could sell it to another self-storage person in 2 years or 3 years as the same restriction, but it's more if they change the use, then this would no longer be a valid variance.
I think you're right. I think that's a good point. It really isn't about the ownership. It's about the use. And they, for a change of use, they would have to, whoever owns would have to come back before the ZBA. So, okay. I feel like we're in a fairly good place here. I still, my thing is, I do think we want to somehow, have a condition on, ensuring the activity on the site doesn't encourage, a lot of people to get there at one time, like the use of the conference room. Exactly how to word that, I'm unsure. And I think we know what we want to do regarding, the bridge coming down, and also the fact that this variance only stays with it until there's a change, for the current use. So.
I don't want to self-impose conditions, but maybe the wording you might be looking for is, or some conditions you might be looking for is like maybe signage that says no Route 9 parking, as it relates to the like conference use.
Yeah.
You can say something like applicant is to limit accessory activities that increase parking on site, something to that effect.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's reasonable and agreeable too.
Okay.
George, quick question. There's more curious. I'm curious if you came up with the planning board, but you guys obviously still have a lot of paved areas in certain areas. Did you actually look at putting more spaces on the site, or is it because of turning radiuses and everything kind of restricted you only to that number of spaces around the building? Because you do have quite a bit of paving in front of the building. I was just more curious.
Yeah, we definitely looked at trying to maximize the amount of parking spaces up top before we came here. We
Okay.
just can't get more than 16 without um, running into like sweat path issues, fire lane issues, things of that nature.
Okay, great. Thanks. Appreciate that.
All right. Do we have anything else we need to discuss, or are we ready to close the public part of the meeting?
I assume we don't have anyone online who has an
Oh,
opinion.
excellent point, Jamie. Has anybody else in the room or with a hand up, Laura?
I have 5 attendees, but no hands.
Okay. Okay. If we don't have anything more that we need to discuss with the applicant, then we could have a movement to close the public meeting.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on this matter.
Second.
All right, motion to close the public hearing. The second has been made. All in favor, respond with aye. Opposed, nay. Doris?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And Williams, aye. All right, Mike, you seem to be really good at this. Do you want to? How do you feel about the conditions and what George just said? That basically to say, uses on the site are limited to those that will. I don't know how you say that.
So a use that consistent with the current applicant,
Yeah.
with the current applicant's use.
Yeah. Right.
Because what's going to happen is self-storage, there's just not a lot of things that they can really change. And as long as that use is consistent, I don't have any objection. I don't think we have to get too into the weeds on that. because that use is so unique. If it's not self-storage, then what is it? And, if it's going to be a fundamental change of use, the parking isn't going to be sufficient. End of story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, where the conference room was specifically brought up by the planning board, I would just like to have some language in there that says there's not going to be activity that brings in, a large contingent of the.
I think the concern is, I look at the conference room as, let's just say you and I own a restaurant and we need to store equipment at that place. And you and I are coming from different parts of the state. Why don't we meet there, go over business planning for the restaurant while we're at the storage facility? My impression from the planning board's concern is to make it kind of a de facto hotspot office, so to speak.
Yeah.
I forget, I think that's their primary concern. I think, I think where that's a reasonable concern in certain circumstances. I just don't see it as like, okay, now we're going to offer conference room and, we've got 15 people coming in for the conference room. The owner of the building knows they don't have the parking space for that. Like that dog just doesn't hunt.
Yeah.
Maybe something like they can't advertise for that. Like, I don't want to say if they have this room and, a storage owner sees it and says, I want to meet some people here. I don't see a huge issue with that, but maybe not advertise as we have this conference space available.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
mean, I kind of see that. I see your point, Mike, that it serves a function for people to have a sort of a pretty quick place to meet. And I think the example you gave was good. And I think that's really kind of what we're after is you don't want a conference room in use that's going to bring in, 20 people. That's going to bring in, more than a handful, honestly. I mean, 4 to 5 people in a conference room, that's not really going to alter things a whole lot, in my opinion. Getting a bigger group together, that could be a problem. So I don't really want to say you can't use the conference room. That'd be ridiculous.
Right.
But we just want to make sure they're not bringing in, people specifically for a meeting.
I think what we do is we say, listen, if maybe we put a cap on the conference room.
Yeah.
To the extent that the applicant wants to use the conference room, it couldn't be allowable for more than 6 people, something along those lines. So
Yeah,
10
yeah.
like I hate to put in kind of arbitrary, and I mean, who's going to enforce this?
No
But
one.
it's what
Nobody,
right.
yeah.
Nobody.
This is what I hate, making conditions that we're never going to enforce. You know how this is going to get enforced? There's no parking.
Yeah.
But I mean, what we could do is we could say, conference rooms space for no more than 6, and we could ask that they put up a sign that says, no parking on Route 9, right? And because I think the concern of the planning board is either they use the lower lot and walk along Route 9 or park.
No one's doing that.
I would hope not, but
You'd be surprised, Mike. People sometimes don't make
You're right.
decisions.
I immediately regretted that
Yeah.
statement. Yeah, no, that was that. I'm going to retract that statement.
Okay.
People do stupider things every single day, myself included.
Okay. So,
I mean that to me that just seems an accounting that's never going to be kept, even if you conditioned it in a way.
well, but you could certainly condition a sign that says no parking on Route 9.
Yeah, I can live with that. There it is.
So the onus is that the conference hosts fire lanes blocked and everyone's. Then Mike, you can't park there if there's too many cars. They're not gonna be able to park, period. I'm just really surprised
All I know is I want to book a
Bill,
conference.
with a sewer
I want to
pipe.
have a
I'm
conference
amazed.
there now.
Now,
Like,
now
that's
you
all I want to do.
want to
We're
do.
gonna hold our next board meeting there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. Yeah, we'll do a Park Central meeting there.
How the sewer pipe, who's the prior owner? I didn't ask. I could go look that up on my own. But it sat idle for years, with Case moving out. So it was an idle commercial property until more
I don't
recently.
want to throw a wrench in the repair or demolish thing, but I'm just wondering, should we say demolish or repair? Do you want that option?
You
Like,
could.
what if you decide I don't want to do self-storage anymore and I want to rebuild the bridge and I want to use that other parking?
That's probably
If
the right way to state it.
if we write something saying you must demolish it, then you have to come back here and say, wait,
Yeah.
I don't want to demolish it.
No, I think that's a good way to do it. So I think we have a condition that says within 2 years, demolish or repair the existing pedestrian bridge, right? And that's it. We know that they have to go through the boards that they have to go to. We don't need to be specific about that. We can make a second condition that they post signs that say there is no parking allowed on Route 9. And then lastly, we could say, which I don't even know if we have to, but I think we say explicitly, the variance in parking is limited to the use that is currently approved for the site.
Mhm.
Does that sound reasonable?
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who wants to make the motion?
David, can I just ask a quick question, just on language? So that the variance is only applicable to the use currently approved, just for the sake of clarity, do you want to put in the self-storage use? Like,
100%.
put
Yeah.
that in the
Yes.
language? Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
we want to
we
make that unambiguous.
We should
Okay.
make it very clear. I think it's better that way. That's a good
Perfect.
suggestion. I was afraid I missed something
Thank you,
again.
Laura.
So we don't want to, so I think we're saying we don't really want to say anything about the conference room use because it's unenforceable anyway, right? So we wanted to address that. We just want to have the posted signs about no parking on Route 9. If you want, I'll make the motion to approve the application for variance with the following conditions. That the pedestrian bridge be repaired or demolished within 2 years, that there are signs posted to clearly state there's no parking allowed on Route 9, and that the variance for the number of parking spaces is limited to the existing use of a storage facility, self-storage facility.
Second? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Or did I? Okay.
I think I'm still allowed to make a motion.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, respond with aye, opposed nay. Doris?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And Mike?
Aye.
And for the record, Doug, would you, I think you're clear on alternate, yeah. And Williams, aye. So, all right, so that will approve the application for variance with the conditions. Obviously, we'll work on cleaning up the conditions to be as clear as possible for you. Okay, and George is not leaving because
He likes us so much.
he likes
The George
He's calling from the conference room. So for the 40B at 250, all we're really doing tonight is a continuation, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we'll continue without testimony. And I guess I'll just update the group. We are very, very close to providing, and I know I've said it a million times at this point, but providing the revised plans to the board. We're just finishing up the revisions, and you'll have them shortly. I was hoping to get them in this week, and that still is probably the case.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was going to ask for, just a brief update of where you are with everything. So, okay. So when are we continuing the hearing to, and what about extending the date for closing the hearing?
I'm gonna defer to Laura for a second as it relates to the next regularly scheduled hearing. I think it's sometime in March, mid-March, maybe.
Yeah, so we have March 18th as our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay. So continue to 3/18. And where are we with the closing the public hearing date?
That's set to April 1st right now, and my thought was instead of just extending it again at this hearing, we'll see how the next hearing goes. Obviously, we're going to extend it if the board needs more time, as we've done in the past. We're not trying to force you guys to make a decision or anything like that, but
Yeah,
just so we have a clear idea of how long it's going to take before we extend it again.
Right. I'm just going to say from my own perspective, I mean, I think you have been very honest in dealing with us. So I have no reason to suspect we're going to get there and you say you're going to put your stake in the sand and say it's got to be done by then. So I'm okay with that instead of moving to an arbitrary date. So, so you're not going to change the public hearing. So we don't have to have that memo that where you're approving it. But we just need to make a motion to continue the public hearing to March 18th. And do we have anything else already scheduled, Laura?
We do. So we have two hearings already scheduled for March. So I would say put this one at 7:30.
7:30? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to March 18th, 2026 at 7:30.
I'll second it.
All right. Choose whoever you like for the second, Laura. Motion to continue to March 18th has been made with a second. All in favor, respond with aye. Opposed, nay. Doris?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jamie?
Sorry. Aye.
And Williams, aye. I forget now. Doug, are you on this or no? Are you
I think I'm still an alternate. I was defer to Larry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to ignore you if you were actually active participant. Okay. All right. So yeah, so that will continue the public hearing until that date. Thank you, George.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks, you too. All right. So now I'm in the wrong thing. Where was the agenda? Why do I lose track of it? Oh, here it is, the agenda. So, other business properly before the board, approval of meeting minutes, January 21, 2026. So I was in this meeting remotely and only for a relatively short period of time. So I didn't see anything in those minutes that I had any objection to. Did anybody else have any problems with the meeting minutes?
I do not.
I did not.
Make a
No,
motion
I
to
do
approve the
not.
minutes as drafted.
Second.
All right. Motion to approve the minutes of January 21, 2026 has been made with a second. All in favor, respond with aye. Opposed, nay. Doris?
Excuse me, aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
And Williams, aye. Doug, did you participate in that one as well?
Yeah, I was at that meeting.
I don't know if Laura, do you have him as an alternate or what's he participant?
I think it was just an alternate, I think.
Yeah, but he can still vote on the minutes.
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. There you go. Very good. All right. So we do the Next thing, if just going by what Laura has listed here, there's DOER, Small Clean Energy Infrastructure Facility Siting and Permitting Regulations Update. You have something for us, Laura?
Excuse me, I do. So it sounds like a mouthful, but I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. So the Department of Energy is promulgating new regulations that will be effective March of this year. They are set to file their final draft of those regulations with the Secretary of State on Friday. So what these regulations are going to do, or they're going to establish what they're calling a consolidated local permit process, where if somebody wants to come and install a small clean energy infrastructure facility, which, I think most commonly for us is going to be like the battery energy storage systems and stuff similar to what we dealt with at 150 Corderville Road. The state wants towns to adopt a new process in which all of the boards, I'm trying to think how to explain it. It's really weird and kind of convoluted. So it's basically one giant permit made up of all the decisions of the permitting boards and departments. So it doesn't include things like building permits, but it does include if there needs to be any special permits, variances, conservation decisions, site plan approvals, things like that, all those more discretionary permits. The biggest thing is that this consolidated permit needs to be issued within 12 months of receiving a complete application. So it's just going to kind of put a time limit on those decisions. So what's going to happen is there will be one person who will be designated by the select board to be the one to oversee this whole process and make sure that everything is being followed according to the regulations. They will be the person to which we will submit our decisions when they come up, and they're going to compile them all into one. If any board or department issues a denial, the entire thing will be denied. And then again, so towns will have 12 months to issue that. It does come with a more extensive pre-filing notification process. So there's going to be a lot more community engagement. There's a larger list of people that they're going to have to notify if they want to bring one of these applications forward. That does not take place of our public hearing notice process. That'll still happen like normal. So we had a meeting with our regional coordinator last week, I think it was. And the way he explained it is they kind of took their inspiration from 40B for this process. The biggest difference, though, is that every permitting board still kind of retains their own process. We're just submitting our decision into this umbrella decision. So the big thing for you guys to know is towns can start accepting these applications as of July 1, but they will be required to accept these applications as of October 1st. So it's just something that's kind of coming down the pipeline that I want you guys to be aware of. It's not going to change any of our process. It's just making sure that we're meeting that 12-month deadline, which I think this board would be fine with just because of our regular deadlines that we have under MGL. I think we'll be fine. But just so you know that is coming. I'm going to send you guys some information. I didn't want to overload you for tonight. It is really great if you're having a hard time falling asleep. I recommend, sifting through it. It's pretty dense. But I'll send you, we have the regulations, we have some draft guidelines that they've put out. And I have the PowerPoint from the meeting with our regional coordinator from last week that I'll send you that just kind of breaks it down a little bit better. So that's kind of it. I just wanted you guys to be aware that that's coming down the line, and that we will be part of the process if special permits and variances are required.
Okay.
That's it.
Great. All right. Thank you. And then interesting part, the ADU bylaw discussion. So I think Laura summarized, I think it pretty well. Doris and I were at the meeting with the planning board on Monday. Where we kind of came at it saying, look, why is there a 50% rule? Why don't you just say 900? So I would say that the sort of the gist of it from the planning board, and Doris can certainly correct me, is, one, they're concerned that if you don't word this correctly, people can make a huge thing and say, hey, that's an ADU. So their suggestion was, why don't you just eliminate the special permit process and say the ADU can be no larger than 1,200 square feet. And it also cannot, the ADU itself can't be bigger than the primary residence. I think that's the fundamentals of it. And I think Laura did a pretty good job of writing that up. But Doris, did I capture that accurately, you think?
That's it, David. They were very well received, and if we bring this in front of you, I got a very strong sense that we can move it to the warrant if we hit the deadlines.
Yeah.
Drafting it. When you look at last meeting's notes, we actually talked about that. You catch it in last meeting's notes as we waffled through removing the percentages, which they could understand clearly the unfairness, and they understood what we were trying to accomplish. And they said, well, why don't we further simplify it? And I liked what they came back with. That's how I felt about it that evening. And it just can't be bigger than what it is. And I chewed on that a bit, and I couldn't come up with scenarios that made that terribly unfair, actually.
Right.
And we sort of tackle in the language. Laura kind of grabbed in the
Yeah, I
language.
think,
Yeah. But gross foot, if you go into zoning, the gross area makes sense to me too, if you actually look at the definition of gross area. So that's it. That's what it was with a understanding. I think it's the 23rd. If we
Yeah.
return, then they were all nodding their heads pretty positively, David. That's really
Yeah.
sort of, it went well. It's as well could go. So
Yeah, because their regular cadence is every 2 weeks. It would be 2 weeks from this last Monday. So, I mean, the idea is, just to try to keep it on time to get on the warrant. I said we would discuss it tonight. Mike, I know you were involved in this quite a bit as well. So I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to weigh in on what you thought. And I mean, the whole board, but I know specifically, Mike, you and Doris spent some time on this.
Oh, for sure. Doris and I bumped into each other in a nice way the other day. We didn't get to talk too much, but it really feels like I think that this is a reasonable, my concerns, my pressure points have been, kind of addressed with respect to allowing smaller homes to be allowed an ADU by right, as opposed to having to go through, additional steps that just, they're the ones who are in the most need of it. And it's just a situation where I feel like that's been addressed. And I don't have an issue with well, we don't want the ADU to be bigger than the home, because that's exactly what people would do. Be like, oh yeah, the house is the ADU, and now I'm going to build this regular house. No, that's not what it's meant for.
Right. Yeah, and that was clearly, Mamie's thing is, she says people will find creative things.
Oh, they will. She's not wrong about that.
Yeah. So I thought it was a good point, and I was trying to think what's the downside of this, but I really couldn't come up with anything. I think 1,200 is reasonable, because that it's a little bit bigger, but it's not a
It's a real number too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got my little people. 1,200 has kind of been the sweet spot for a lot of my developers that I work with on building these. So I'm pleased with that number.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure where the 1,200 came from. But
we actually talked about it a bit at last meeting, and I think you cited a town, and then I think Westboro was cited with a little bit different condition with it, besides no bigger than the house. But they used 1,200, Westboro did, and you had cited another town in our last meeting. And we were talking
On
about
Cape Cod, I know they went with 12, and I know
that.
I work with two developers
Yeah.
that just do ADUs, and 1,200 is kind of where they is really where they're building them.
Okay.
It-
Anybody else want to weigh in? Paul, Jamie, Doug?
I have nothing to say. I mean, I think the last time we talked about it, I mean, I'd be okay with 900. I still think that's plenty big, but 1,200 is a good number. So I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Jamie,
1,200 is fine with me. I mean, I think that's a robust number and covers a lot of scenarios.
Okay. Jamie, you good with it?
I'm good.
Yeah, again, I'm repeating myself, but I did like the putting in the no larger than the primary. I think is a good sort of safety, right? So, all right then. So, as far, well, Laura, I think you've done some good work. I'll take a look at it. Mike, I don't know if you want to look at it in your spare time.
No, I'm gonna be. I'll be
on.
I'll be on a flight Friday morning, and I'm gonna try to. It's an early flight, so I'm hoping to have my little ones asleep, and then try to catch up. And that's one of the things I want to review. I looked at it briefly yesterday, and I was fine with it, but I want to sink my teeth into it a little bit more.
That's very hopeful of you, Mike, that they're going to be nice and asleep on the flight.
Oh no, I
Mike.
plan to medicate them heavily.
I was about to say, Mike,
Public record.
May I recommend Baby Benadryl? Works like a charm.
Yes, somehow that's going to make its way on our flight bag.
So administratively, right, we've debated it here in terms of cleaning up the language. There's no reason why we can't swap that back and forth through you on email. But right, Laura?
I would,
Open meeting law?
yeah, so I would kind of be a little hesitant to send it back and forth. I'm happy to compile your comments and kind of distribute that as like meeting materials, but I think if I'm going back and forth with each of you and including your opinion, then we're getting into a little not so good. But if you want to compile everything, and then send me your comments, I'll compile it. And we can go from there. I do want to point out, so in order for the public hearing to open on March 9th, which I think is the target date right now, we need to submit the legal ad by Wednesday. So I don't think we need, so I don't think we need the final language. I think we need final language by March 9th because the warrant closes, I want to say March 17th. So that's when we need final language, but I think we have enough to go on for the legal ad. You guys have a direction that you want to go. I think that's fine. So I can work with the planning department to get that going by Wednesday. I did also just want to point out one thing. So this, in theory, I think it's going to make it a lot simpler, but it does require more editing to the bylaw. There's more sections that need to be updated. I think I've got them all. I would love if you guys could really just kind of double check the references throughout the code if you guys have the time. And something I wanted to bring to your attention that I think maybe perhaps town council is going to look at it anyways, but really specifically ask him about if we remove section 174-9B, which is the special permit for ADUs. I want to see if we can just replace it with like reserved. We've done it for other sections.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah. If we can't do that and we have to re-letter everything that comes after it.
That's a big ripple.
So annoying.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at, a list of changes that looks like a lot more than it is.
Yeah.
And can be maybe a little intimidating for town meeting. So
yeah,
if we can do it that way, I think it'll be the cleanest way to do it. But I just want to make sure that we get an opinion on that one.
Okay. So anybody who has any comments on the draft as written by Laura, send them directly to Laura. Laura, you can compile them, right?
Yeah.
I'm planning to go to the next planning board meeting. Yeah, and if we can have that update for them before, then I think that'll put us on a pretty good path. I don't know if you're going to plan to go as well, Doris or Mike or anybody else, but I will certainly go.
I've just been overwhelmed between
Yeah.
the kids.
No,
I mean,
I think
really
I
important
can
to me,
go,
you
David.
know.
Yeah.
When I'm in country, I'm here, so I can go.
Yeah, that's fine, Mike. I'm just leaving it open. I have no problem going.
Yeah.
I know you've done a lot of the work, but I'm
No,
happy.
no. It's just one of those things. I hate to leave things unfinished. It's just I literally took completely spaced the last one just because there's only so much I can get to.
Well, when you
Yeah, keep adding children.
accurately
Yeah,
medicate your
yeah,
kids, and
exactly.
you get to it
Yeah.
on Friday.
Yeah. Sucker is what I should. The sucker T-shirt is what I should be wearing.
Yeah, just have your comments back to Laura. We'll
Yeah,
manage it.
no, I'll
out.
see if I can get that done on the flight.
Okay.
So I'll get an agenda posted for the 23rd as well, because Doug, not to put you on the spot, I think you said you were going to, maybe? If you want to.
Oh.
I'm not forcing you.
To the planning
But
board.
what yeah, to the planning board on the 23rd. So I'll post an agenda for us.
Okay.
And what I'll do, I think maybe is I'll compile everybody's comments into a packet and I'll post that with the agenda and I'll
Okay.
send that to the planning board so that everybody has it
Okay, that sounds good.
in a way that's compliant with open meeting law.
And it sounds very legal with open meeting law. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I wanted to be careful about that.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So, and what do we have upcoming? We have March 18th would be the next date. We know you already told us there's two hearings plus
Mhm.
250 Turnpike.
Yeah. So the two hearings for March are hopefully somewhat straightforward. One is, I think, a little tricky.
Yeah.
But the other one I think should be pretty straightforward. And then hopefully we get stuff for 250. And I'll loop in our peer reviewers as soon as we get that.
Yeah. Just I feel like I haven't looked at that in so long. It's becoming unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So okay.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah.
So many things, Mike. All right.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else, Laura?
Just super quick, I want to put it out there for you guys to start thinking about is for annual town meeting. Since you guys will be presenting or sponsoring the warrant article for the ADU, we will need someone or some people to present it.
That'll be me. No one else has an objection to it.
No, I'm fine with it. Good. What's the date for town meeting?
For annual town meeting, it's April 11th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Why did I thought I saw something about March 1. I was like, I'm actually gonna.
Yeah, that's for your options for NERI.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I won't make that one. Okay, but for this one, that's in April. Okay, that shouldn't be a problem. Mike, I defer to you 100%.
Unless Doris wants to do it, like it's one of those. I speak on I've been speaking on ADUs for a couple of years now, so it's just a situation where like I can sling some hash on it.
So Mike, you can do it there. See, that was easy. If you want me up there with you, I'm happy to.
Yeah,
So
I always think it's you bring such you're the most calming influence I've got. So
yeah, we saw that. All right. Okay. Any? So, did you have anything else, or we're good?
I can't hear him.
I think it's Paul's.
It's got to be Paul's time because I'm up against it.
My time to shine.
Your time to shine.
So, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Okay. Motion to adjourn has been made with a second. All in favor, respond with aye. Opposed, nay. Doug?
Aye.
Doris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
and Williams, aye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good
Good night.
Aye.
Good work
On
See you
tonight.
call
soon.
earlier.
I'll see you in a couple weeks, David.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye, guys.
Aye.
Bye-bye.